There's something in our water right now that's nearly entirely invisible, yet consistently kills unsuspecting beachgoers every year.
Emergency crews were rushing from one ocean rescue to the next on Wednesday. One woman is dead and another is in critical condition after being swept out to sea at Panther Beach.
A mother and daughter walking on the beach in San Francisco are in serious condition this morning after they were knocked into the ocean by a sneaker wave.
Tonight, we are hearing from family and friends of the victims whose beach day came to a tragic end.
They're called sneaker waves, and they're one of the most overlooked dangers on our coastlines right now. They don't strike during storms or high winds, but rather on calm, beautiful days when the water looks perfectly safe and visitors are almost entirely unaware of the dangers that are lurking. But what's even more alarming is the people who get caught up in them. You see, it isn't swimmers most at risk here, but rather those standing on dry sand 150 feet from the waterline who have no idea they're about to get swept into the ice-cold ocean. Right now, there are stretches of Pacific Coast Beach where people walk every single weekend that have a documented death toll going back decades. And the reason why this phenomenon kills people is one of the most unassuming dangers in modern oceanography. So what exactly makes sneaker waves so deceptively deadly? And what should you do if you ever get caught in one? Let's find out. If you've spent time on a Pacific Northwest beach, you already know it's a very different place from the beaches you see in the movies. There are no lifeguards, no crowds, just miles of gray sand, enormous driftwood logs, and a cold, steel-colored ocean. The coastline running from Northern California through Oregon and Washington is one of the most dramatic in the world, and it draws millions of visitors every year. Most of them go home with photographs and sand in their shoes, but since 1990, roughly 60 people haven't come home at all. Lives lost, not from storms or fierce white water, or even anything they saw coming. You see, a sneaker wave isn't what most people picture when they imagine a dangerous wave. It doesn't curl and crash. It doesn't rear up like something out of a disaster movie. It rises smoothly and rapidly and runs up the beach with its full force completely intact, traveling far further inland than you believe possible. The National Weather Service puts the potential danger zone of a sneaker wave at 150 feet past the normal waterline, but in some recorded events, a single surge has been known to travel more than 300 feet inland, reaching people who are nowhere near what they considered the water. But what actually causes these powerful surges? Well, if you want to understand how sneaker waves form, you need to understand the two main types of waves. The first are the obvious ones you can see: surface waves, arriving in sets, curling and breaking on shore. And the ones you can't. These are called infragravity waves, and they are longer and deeper, running beneath each entire wave set like a slow underwater pulse. When a massive storm forms near Alaska or in the South Pacific, it sends swells across the ocean with unusually long periods between waves. That extra spacing makes the infragravity wave longer and stronger. And while surface waves break in the surf zone and lose their energy, the infragravity waves don't break at all. Some scientists compare these infragravity waves to sloshing in a bathtub, with no crashing waves to dissipate energy before overflowing at the edge. And the single most counterintuitive finding from all of this research is what happens with the weather. When there's a local storm near the coast, choppy conditions jumble the incoming swell and actually prevent sneaker waves from forming. But on calm, beautiful days, the distant swells arrive clean and organized, transferring maximum energy to the hidden wave beneath. And that's exactly what makes them so deceptively dangerous. When local storms produce large swells, they create turbulent surface waves, and most regular beachgoers are well aware of the threat the water poses. But on the seemingly calm and peaceful days, the danger becomes entirely invisible. And the geography of the Pacific Northwest makes it uniquely, almost perfectly suited to producing them. You see, the continental shelf here drops off steeply, which means incoming swells lose almost none of their energy before they reach the beach. The coastline faces directly into the North Pacific, where some of the most powerful storms on Earth generate swells that travel thousands of miles before they arrive. On top of that, the water year-round sits between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to be life-threatening within minutes of immersion. This combination of factors doesn't exist anywhere else in the United States in quite the same way. Which is why, for much of the West Coast, sneaker waves kill more people every year than every other weather hazard combined. Between 2015 and 2025, Oregon recorded 54 documented sneaker wave events and 9 fatalities, while California recorded 14 events but 15 deaths. A higher death toll from fewer incidents, reflecting the particular ferocity of its Northern California headlands and the sheer volume of coastal visitors. Sneaker waves are most frequently reported between October and April, tracking the North Pacific storm season, when the longest period swells arrive from the most powerful Alaskan storms. Documented incidents exist in every month of the year. And worryingly, in recent years, sneaker waves have become increasingly more common. 2025 set a record for documented sneaker wave incidents, logging more than double the events of the previous year, while 2026 is already tracking to match it. Now, if this is your first time hearing about sneaker waves, then it can be difficult to comprehend how a seemingly calm swell can become so potentially life-threatening. And the reason is due to a deadly combination of reasons. The first factor at play is the logs. One thing first-time visitors to Pacific Northwest beaches almost always do is sit or climb on the myriad driftwood that is scattered across much of the coastline. The beaches up here are covered in enormous pieces of it, ancient waterlogged trees that have been carried down rivers and deposited on the sand over decades. They look like natural furniture, immovable, permanent, and a good place to sit and watch the water. But they are none of those things. A waterlogged driftwood log can weigh several hundred pounds, and yet a sneaker wave carrying just a few inches of water is enough to lift one and drive it up the beach at speed. Then, that same wave, on its way back out, rolls it seaward again over anything or anyone caught in its path. And countless people have been crushed this way on Oregon beaches. An incident at Manzanita saw a woman described by rescue personnel simply as having been crushed by a log after a wave struck without warning. She survived, but the outcome could easily have been different, and in many other cases, it has been. So don't be fooled into thinking these logs are harmless. They are one of the biggest dangers here that are often overlooked. But if the logs don't get you, the wave itself might, in a way that has nothing to do with how well you swim. The reason for that is because sneaker waves don't carry just water. Their powerful force lifts up enormous volumes of sand and gravel. And when that mixture hits you and fills your clothing, survivors consistently describe it the same way, like being stuck in concrete. Your jacket, your jeans, your boots, all of it becomes impossibly heavy in a matter of seconds. Ann Dwyer, a retired psychiatrist, was swept off a Yachats beach with her 4-year-old granddaughter on a calm, sunny afternoon in 2024. The little girl was immediately swept 250 yards away before being saved by a bystander. But Ann, hit by the full force of the wave, quickly became overwhelmed by the wet clothes and sand-filled boots, and was only able to lift herself off the ground after 2 other visitors pulled her up. Ann was fortunate, but not everyone in this situation is. You see, once your clothes become heavy with water and sediment and your physical mobility is inhibited, you're then at the mercy of the powerful backwash. And that wave that just surged up the beach has to go somewhere, and it goes back the way it came, fast and powerful, pulling everything it gathered on the way back out to sea. You're pinned by the weight of your own soaked clothing, all while the current is pulling you toward open water. And if that happens, you encounter the third and final deadly element of this natural killer. If you've ever taken a dip in these parts, then you already know that the Pacific Northwest doesn't do warm water. Even in July, the ocean here sits at temperatures between 46 and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. That might not sound life-threatening, but water conducts heat away from the body 25 times faster than air. So individuals can develop hypothermia submerged in any water below normal body temperature. Below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, exhaustion or unconsciousness can occur in just 10 to 15 minutes. Pair this with the emotional distress of being pulled out into the open ocean, combined with the strenuous effort of wet and heavy clothing, and this becomes a real danger. But long before hypothermia sets in, cold shock presents the more immediate danger to an unexpected submersion. In temperatures below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, we become prone to an involuntary cold shock response. And if you've already seen our video on swimming in quarries, then you'll already know how deadly this can be. Cold shock begins with an involuntary gasp, which, if your head is underwater, can lead to the inhalation of 2 to 3 quarts of seawater, which can be immediately fatal in itself. This used to be referred to as sudden disappearance syndrome because victims simply vanished without any visible struggle. But if you survive that initial gasp, then your heart rate and blood pressure surge while the body simultaneously fires 2 opposing emergency systems, one trying to accelerate the heart and one trying to slow it. The conflict between them can trigger fatal cardiac arrhythmia in otherwise healthy people. This is a lot more common than you think, and some sneaker wave victims have been found with no water in their lungs at all, meaning they didn't drown, but rather their hearts just gave out. Now, given the risk this natural phenomenon poses, you're probably wondering what safeguards are in place to prevent these disasters from occurring in the first place. And the National Weather Service does issue some sneaker wave advisories. When incoming swell periods exceed around 14 to 15 seconds, forecasters issue beach hazard statements for the affected coastline. These are warnings based on real data, and they're issued regularly throughout the winter months. But the problem a system like this faces is the sheer scale of the area it's trying to patrol. A beach hazard statement covers hundreds of miles of coastline. It cannot tell you whether your specific beach on your specific afternoon is at risk. And to make matters worse, there are no lifeguards on many of the isolated and remote Pacific Northwest beaches. So if you do get caught in one, you're reliant on self-rescue or the assistance of other bystanders to make it out alive. In January 2021, a 12-year-old boy named Arune Pruthi jumped into the surf at Cowell Ranch State Beach in Half Moon Bay to help his family, who had been swept in by a sneaker wave. His father described him as a reasonably strong swimmer, but there was no life ring or emergency flotation device of any kind within reach. He stayed visible at the surface for approximately 15 minutes, while bystanders on the beach desperately tried to improvise a rope from beach tents to reach him. But the effort was in vain, and Arne drowned, and his body was never recovered. His parents subsequently founded the Arune Foundation, which has since installed more than 25 life-saving ring buoy stations along Northern California's coast. But even still, with every passing season, lives are still being lost to sneaker waves. In 2026 already, there have been multiple reported cases of lives lost due to sneaker waves, including these 2 college students who were napping on the beach before being swept out to sea. With events like this only becoming more common, further precautions are being made in an effort to avoid tragic incidents like this in the future. Right now, a research team at Oregon State University is working toward building a phone-based, beach-specific forecast system that could alert a visitor to elevated sneaker wave risk at their exact location in real time. But while the technology is advancing, the system is still years from deployment. And while tools like this will have their uses, relying on warning systems should not be the main strategy for prevention. Understanding how to read the signs and knowing what to avoid before you even step foot on the beach is what actually saves lives. The first thing experienced surfers do before they ever approach the water is watch it for at least 20 minutes. And this is a good strategy any beachgoer should follow. Watch the water long enough to understand the pattern of the sets, to see how far the water actually reaches, and to check whether the sand ahead is wet above the current waterline. Wet sand is a clear tell that waves have already been there, which means they can get there again, and it is not somewhere you should be standing or sleeping. Knowing your exit before you step onto the beach is also important, because on enclosed stretches backed by cliffs or rocks, a sneaker wave doesn't just hit you, it removes your escape route entirely and puts you in the path of potentially dangerous debris. If there's no clear path to higher ground that you can reach in under 15 seconds, you're in considerably more danger than if you had chosen a more strategic position to enjoy the day. If you're somewhere that has a history of sneaker waves or is clearly labeled as a danger at the beach entrance, you should always be aware of the potential threat and never take your eyes off the waterfront. And if a wave is coming, the only correct response is to run back as fast as you can. And that sounds obvious, but one of the biggest causes of fatalities is due to running after whoever or whatever just got swept in. Despite the signs warning of the dangers, the Kuljian family lost 3 people on a Humboldt County beach in November 2012 after they threw a stick for the family dog and a wave took it into the water. His teenage son ran in after the dog. Howard dove in after his son, and his wife went in after Howard, each one drawn into the water by the same emotional impulse, which in the moment feels like the only possible response. Sadly, all three drowned while the dog walked out of the water on its own. And more recently, in May 2025, Garbo Chang ran fully clothed into the surf at Ocean Beach in San Francisco to save a dog that had been swept in, and he drowned too. Again, the dog walked out minutes later. Cases like this are exactly why the National Weather Service now explicitly states that you should never attempt a rescue of a pet. The reality is that dogs pulled into Pacific Northwest surf almost always get out on their own because they are naturally more buoyant with better lung capacity. Now, of course, there's still a chance you can do everything right and still be unfortunate enough to be caught in a sneaker wave. And if this ever happens to you, then there's a few important things to remember. When you're first hit by the wave, everything in your body will tell you to fight the pull. But that is exactly the wrong thing to do. Thrashing exhausts you, forces water into your lungs, and gets you no closer to shore. Instead, like every emergency situation in water, you should stay calm, keep your face clear of the waterline, and let the cold shock response run its course. That initial shock will subside within 60 to 90 seconds, and only once your breathing begins to settle do you have any real chance of making it back, using the current of the ocean rather than trying to fight it. That's exactly what Bae Kadat, a 47-year-old fisherwoman who survived a sneaker wave at Pacifica in June 2026, did after being dragged out 30 feet by a sneaker wave, escaping with only minor injuries. Once out, get out of your wet clothes as soon as possible and slowly begin to warm yourself back up. Spare towels and your car's heating system will likely be useful assets in this situation. There's a reason sneaker waves don't get the attention that sharks do, or storm surges, or any of the ocean dangers that look the part. They happen on the most ordinary days to the most ordinary people, on beaches that give no warning and carry no obvious threat. Science now tells us clearly what creates these waves, when they're most likely, and what the warning signs look like. The beaches where they happen are known. None of what you need to know is complicated or hard to remember. It just requires treating the Pacific Ocean with the same respect you'd give anything that has quietly killed dozens of people on a calm, beautiful afternoon. So have fun and enjoy the beach, but always respect the water and be alert for potential dangers. And if you found this information, then I'd appreciate it if you can share this video, and together we can help save as many lives as possible. And if you want to learn about the single biggest killer in American waterways right now, then I recommend taking a look at this video next.